I'm Ellie and welcome to the channel.
Today, I am going to try watercolors the right way, minus the bad habits and minus the impatience. So, here are the bad habits I tend to lean into. I cannot, for the life of me, let the layers dry. I can watch a YouTube tutorial right now telling me to let the layers dry, and I will still not let the layers dry. So what I'm doing here is I am putting down the first base layer of this painting and then letting it dry. As a result of my inability to let layers dry, layering doesn't usually work out for me very well. So what I'm doing now is layering on a properly dried base layer. Another bad habit I tend to lean into pretty heavily is bringing in gouache to fix my mistakes. It never works, but I keep doing it. So a hard rule I set for myself in this painting is no gouache. And we'll get into how that went. But first, this is where we're at. I'm pretty happy with how this is looking, and I'm happy that I was able to let layers dry before adding further layers. But should I decide to paint a jar again, I will approach it differently. I am not crazy about this aesthetic. More about the gouache. I am moving on to paint the ghost. This is a painting of a ghost trapped in a jar, by the way. I seem to have a thing about creating things trapped in jars. This is not my first, and it won't be my last. Now, you can see that I'm adding a lot of grey to this ghost to give a definition, but I didn't want to add too much grey and make it a lot darker than I wanted it to be. And I go on to experiment with some colors that I wanted to show up in the shadows. But the colors paired with the grey turned out a little bit harsher than I liked them to be. If I had white watercolor paint, I would have used that to blend out some of those colors. But unfortunately, I am fresh out and I had to lean on the white gouache to achieve that. That is in fact white gouache you see me dip my paintbrush into. And for a change, thankfully, by some miracle, it worked out this time. Kind of, and we'll get into that. Side note, my phone ran out of storage and I didn't realize, so it stopped recording the remainder of this part. So we skip to this part. This is where we're at. I am really happy with how this came out. The shadowed bottom part of the ghostly sheet, however, feels a bit dark, hard and harsh. But I'm leaving well enough alone. That said, I did not leave the highlights unpainted. So I had to go and create them with, let's just give my cat a moment. You guessed it, gouache. White gouache. Straight from the tube. Without trying to sound too dramatic, but this kinda ruined the painting for me. It looked chalky and patchy, and in the end decided to blend it all out with water, which took away from that really white vibrancy. Here it is before I blend it out, and here is it after I blend it out. The first version certainly has that striking white vibrancy to indicate those bright highlights. The second version looks more natural and evened out, but lacks that white vibrancy in the highlights. But that's all for today.